welcome back to another episode of the CJJ podcast. I don't even know what episode this is, but we're here with Joey Skracic, our good friend that we've known now for 4 years?
4 years. 4 or 5 years, somewhere in there.
Something like that.
Yeah, he is now the current pitching coach over at Delta Junior College in Stockton, California. One of the best programs in the nation, has been nationally ranked. Always in contention for state championships, and that's where he actually played his junior college ball. But kind of backing up, we met Joey through Driveline. Actually, before we went up to Driveline, Steve found, I think it was Rothwell was your remote pitching coach?
Mike Rothwell, yeah, he was my first one.
The CEO.
Matt Daniels.
This is back in
OG stuff right there.
This
14 or 15?
This was 14 or, yeah, 15 probably.
And then I remember when I came home from Willamette, winter break, 14 going into 15, started doing the ply balls with you.
Right.
And then end of 15 or beginning of 16 is when I was like, okay, I need to kind of hop on some remote training programs too. And just from following them on Instagram, one of the most seemed like influential guys at the time was Alex Casillas, a.k.a.
Flama,
Flama
baby.
Blanco.
The goat.
And
Love
Flama.
that dude.
Shout out Flama.
he had just started this Team Capo remote training / mentorship / Yip Rona / whatever
That's
you
where
want to call
you guys
it.
met.
Yeah.
So yeah, before we
I
actually
forgot about
went to Driveline, Joey and I were in this group me with 30 people maybe.
So many different guys.
A couple pros,
So
a
many
lot of
different
high
guys.
school guys, a couple college guys. I think that was your redshirt year at
No,
Delta?
that was my second year at Delta.
That was so your redshirt freshman year.
My
you were
redshirt freshman
playing.
year, yeah.
Oh, that was, okay.
And that's the year I got hurt at Willamette, so I was just training at home. And then also Kyle was in that group chat, which was pretty cool because when we went up to Driveline the first time, I think we went up like a couple weeks before you.
Yeah.
We did, yeah, just a couple.
But like we walked in and Kyle already like knew me just from the group chat and was just like, "What's up, guys? Like, come check out our place," and like gave us a tour.
Yeah.
Like, and that probably wouldn't happen now, but
Oh, yeah, we got lucky.
yeah. And then you came up a couple weeks later, and we got to actually train together at Kent, Washington and stuff. But I guess first, just off the bat, how did you get into Driveline?
Man, that's a good question. Well, I kind of had some previous issues in being really bad when I was in high school. Wasn't a very good high school baseball player. Dealt with some injuries my junior year of high school. Senior year didn't really go as promised. Not as promised, but as I wanted. And actually, I decided I was going to be done playing baseball. And my mentor and the guy that I give so much credit to, like my baseball background with, is a guy named Bob Mattia out of Bakersfield. Has his own facility there, and he kind of pushed me in the way of Delta. He played with Reed, who's the head guy at Delta at UNLV, and was like, "Hey man, like I got this kid. Like he just needs a red shirt. Like he's not very good, but like, he's not going to cause any issues. Like he's going to come in and he's going to help you guys out."
Right.
And Reed was like, "Yeah, sure, as long as he's going to redshirt. We already got a lot of guys this year." And no, like coming true, like that staff was absolutely loaded. My redshirt year.
14-15, right?
Yeah, 14-15 year. You
This
got
is the Delta staff?
yeah, the Delta
they were
staff that
unbelievable.
had.
Well, you guys were number one in the nation, right?
Yeah, we started the season. I think it was 28 or 29-0.
Yeah,
I remember.
Had a bunch of dudes on that team. You got
Hey,
guys
we
with
handed
40
the first loss.
Yeah, I did. Sac City did.
Avila Leaper.
Yeah, Vila Leaper, state pitcher of the year. You had Rick Delgado, who was like probably the best number 3 in the history of JC baseball. And then you just had some dudes out of the bullpen. You have like Colin Thoreau, a catcher with the A's.
He's still in the system.
Yeah, he's still in the system. Nate Easley played center field for us. And just had it was a loaded lineup. Like kind of regressing from what we were just what you asked, was that they had the Texas Baseball Ranch program there, and it was about as abusive as you could possibly do. Like I threw weighted balls every day as hard as I could, anytime. Just like it was like anything I could. I was like, all right, I'm gonna throw as hard as I can. Like I threw, it was a 77-mile right-hander.
Grip and rip it.
Like absolutely just
You were
huck.
77 at the time?
77 to 79,
Sheesh.
and nothing good. Just a big old donkey up there. Nothing was going well.
Were you still the same size at the time?
Yeah, same size. I was a little skinnier. I was like 195.
26'5"?
Yeah, 6'5", 195 going into my freshman year of college.
Oh, good
And
stuff. He had a lot ahead of you.
redshirt year to the T, man. Drank a gallon of milk a day for a whole month to gain weight.
You drink salt too?
I'll have you see, I did later on in my playing career, but don't advise. With that, don't do that.
Yeah.
But gained some weight, gained some velo, and then I stumbled upon Driveline over YouTube. And that's when like Kyle was just like showing videos of him like sitting at a desk like throwing into just like these ugly weighted balls that they had, and I was like, wow, there might be something here. And then I stumbled upon like guys like Flama, even Peter Bayer at the time was training down over there. And I was like, wow, there might be something like I'd be interested in. And I remember talking to my pitching coach and like, hey, like, do you mind if I just start doing this Driveline stuff on my own? And I'm lucky enough, like Matt Keplinger, pitching coach at University of San Francisco now, was super like, go ahead, Joe, like do whatever you want to do. And I was really lucky to be in a position to do that. And that's kind of how I stumbled upon it, man. And it was obviously for me really like career changing for me. So.
Right.
Yeah, and then we was 16. Was that the first time you went to the facility too?
Yeah, summer 16 was the first time I went to the facility. But yeah, back to what you said about with Flama, I ran into his stuff. I think it was in the fall of no, it was the middle of the spring, spring of 16. And jumped on board with that, and like the mental game stuff that like Flama brings to the table is fantastic. Like I still talk to that dude to this day about stuff. Like we still drive down rabbit holes on certain things.
The Cups Against COVID tournament.
I have seen that. But
he lost in the first round, but it was okay.
It doesn't surprise me. He's an old man. So, but yeah, the dude, he actually provides a lot of value to me still as a coach, just in regards to helping guys the developmental game, man. I think he actually has a ton of really good stuff. So I love bouncing ideas off of him.
Yeah, he's a great mind. And then you went to Driveline for that whole summer?
Oh, so you were there after you even left?
Yeah, I was there from, I drove up June 1st because it was my birthday. I remember driving up. And I was there until I think July 31st or August 1st. So I was there for a full 2 months.
Right.
And I really, really loved it up there, man. That was awesome. Just being in the environment, being around dudes that are striving to the same.
R.I.P. to 4-3.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously, 4-3's gone.
Striving for the same exact things as me, and it was awesome.
That was the best part about it, was just the environment alone, man. The
Yeah.
guys that were in there coming from all over the country.
Yeah, for
I couldn't
sure.
believe it.
And now you see so many guys that were part of that like summer 16 program, like either A in pro ball or B like doing amazing things.
They're doing big things for baseball, man.
It's
so cool to see. Just guys that were getting after it in this little Kent Washington, you know.
Exactly.
Going up there in 16 is when I met Rob Hill, and then just kind of staying in touch with him throughout. Because then I went to CRC. Is how I got to Westmont, just from talking with him.
Yeah, Rob's awesome.
And Rob's just doing, he's doing great with the Dodgers.
For the Dodgers, so he's doing big things. But so then your first year at Delta when you were playing, did you throw a lot that year? Or?
I think I probably logged somewhere 25 or 30 innings. Not 100% sure. Didn't go that great at the beginning, and started to find some stuff towards the end of that year. Fastball was somewhere in that like 85 to 87 range at the end of my second year.
Still a big jump. From
77. It was still a decent jump.
A little 10 mile an hour, 8 to 10.
And was just a pitchability guy. Like came into just some cleanup innings. Like wasn't really throwing in high leverage situations. And then that's when I decided.
You got outs.
Yeah, I got outs, I guess you could say. And then made the move to Seattle and gained some velo there, and then had some success my third year there. So
so your third year, your redshirt sophomore year, you were a starter, and you were what, 88 to 91?
Yeah, 88 to 91, pretty much the whole year. Touched 2 or 3 somewhere in there.
So when you said you were 195 when you went to Delta. So then your third year, well, you know what you were weighing in?
Oh man, I played around a ton with my weight. I remember in Seattle, I got up to 245 at one point. And then like knowing like I'd have to come back and actually do some conditioning, I got back down in that 225, 230 range. I've always been a guy who likes to play with his weight, trying to find sweet spots for me, and my sweet spot's always been like that 230, 235 range.
So you were still playing at plus 30 pounds basically from when you came in. So
yeah, absolutely.
Obviously,
a totally different beast at that point.
Weight and
totally
strength.
different guy.
Play a decent role in velo, and then you ended up going to Campbell.
Yeah.
After Delta, did you have other offers, or is that?
Yeah, I did. There was a couple other offers on the table. I had opportunity to go to University of San Francisco, a bunch of Division II schools, I was talking to UC Riverside at the time, and then just been in just like mixed contact with a bunch of different other schools, but nothing like real solid. But Campbell gave me pretty much everything that I really wanted. I remember coming into junior college, I remember setting a goal from the very beginning that no matter what, I wanted to be able to get my education paid for, just from everything that my parents have given me from growing up, and I feel like they deserved to be able to get some money back from everything that they've given me. So was lucky that Campbell gave me such a good opportunity and made the move to North Carolina.
How was your time out there?
What's that?
Is that what that school is, North Carolina?
Yeah, North Carolina.
I didn't know that. That was in like
just outside
Kentucky
of Raleigh.
or something.
Yeah, no, just outside of Raleigh.
Okay.
I loved it, man. I met some phenomenal people during my time. Some dudes that are going to be in my wedding someday. Like just fantastic guys. I love it back there. Just a whole different kind of culture, man. Just that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Things are a little bit slower out there. People are more caring for each other. And I loved the identity of our program that we had at Campbell. And I mean, obviously the success of our program has been fantastic, going to 2 regionals back-to-back years. And I know that Coach Hare was pretty excited about what this year had to come for them, but obviously COVID took that away. But I think that the program is going to turn into something special in the next couple of years. Hopefully do something like Coastal did. So we'll see. But
go Humps.
Yeah, roll Humps, baby.
Yeah, so going from JUCO, this is what I like to ask guys because I was a JUCO arm. So going from JUCO to D1, what do you feel like in junior college baseball, like do you think that level of baseball, what we went through there in the Big 8, helped you a lot at the D1 level? The most, like some of the things that helped you the most out of there? You know, like mindset-wise?
Yeah, I would just say that the biggest difference for me is like the hitters are better at Division I.
Right.
Like they're gonna take more advantage of your mistakes. You can get away with a little bit more at JC level, but regarding like mentality of like how to approach your business, like coming from a JC and kind of the situation that I was in, just never taking anything for granted,
right.
And just working your tail off, really being really deliberate in everything that you do. I think that's something that you learn at JC, just to be able to get to where you want. There's not many things that go your way at JC. You don't have the resources that you ultimately want, and you're going to have to really take like what is your own path,
right.
and just kind of make it your own. So I think that was it was a very easy transition to Division I, because now all of a sudden you have some things like you got a nutrition station, you got your trainer with you got your strength and conditioning guy.
It's like holy hell, what did I walk into?
Yeah, you're like, man, I get some cool stuff.
Yeah,
so.
JUCO renegade.
Yeah, and JUCO will give you that stuff, you know. So JUCO's not all bad. People make it out to be.
Exactly.
You learn the mindset and stuff, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you were at Campbell, were you able to still do like your full routine, like plyo balls, all that stuff beforehand?
Yeah, absolutely. Chris Marks was our pitching coach at the time, and now he's with Purdue in the same role. He's super open-minded. Like the dude is like, hey man, like he was obviously like, hey Mark's like, I want to try this. Go ahead, man. Like he's real
so
open-minded guy.
Yeah,
if your routine doesn't work, like he's gonna let you know. And he's going to provide you some feedback and something that he believes in. But ultimately, like you're going to set your own path there with Marks. Now the guy who's there, Tyler Robinson, very similar dude, super open-minded guy. Like that's what I say. Like the path of that program is only going to get better and better, just with the guys that they have running the show over there.
So then you graduate, and I know we kind of talked about this when it happened, but you weren't really looking to coach, I don't think, at Delta. Did you have a plan for what was next, or were you just kind of going home? And
well, I had Tommy John my first year when I was at Campbell.
Right.
So I had one more year of eligibility left, and I was going to be a 6th-year senior coming into this 2020 season. And during my rehab process,
if you would have done that, you could have been a 7th year.
I could have been a 7th-year senior.
You could have been playing. Yeah.
I could have been very well. I could have my first year of college could have been guys who were 12 when I was playing with.
Wow.
So, but during my rehab process with Tommy John, I tore my rotator cuff, which was not fun.
Doesn't sound fun.
Yeah, it wasn't ideal. Somewhere around the 11th month mark, and was either like end up having to probably have surgery or take a ton of anti-inflammatory steroids to be able to play through it. And I was just like, you know what, like I'm just going to play through it. And it was just something that I just decided to do. Like regarding like being very good on the mound, it wasn't there. Like velocity fell down. Wasn't able to do the same things that I wanted to do, but ultimately, like just being in the dugout, being on the mound is like just fantastic.
Warrior, yeah.
That's all you really wanted to do.
Right.
And yeah, exactly. So I just, after that year, I was like, all right, I'm going to play still. And yeah, I was like, I'm going to rehab and find a way to play. And then Reed called me and was like, hey man, like I think Kep's going to take the job at San Francisco. Would you want to come back and be our pitching coach? And I was like, no, Skip. I'm all right. I'm going to play one more year. And I said, I appreciate the opportunity. And something like after that conversation, I was like, dang, like that sounds pretty fun right now. And I was planning on I was going to go into real estate in Bakersfield. Right. Worked for a fantastic guy over the winter.
Do you then think to yourself, I don't want to be in Bakersfield anymore?
Yeah, no, I love Bakersfield, don't get me wrong, but I was like, dang, like being in baseball sounds pretty dang fun.
Yeah, that sounds
I was like, all right, like I thought about it for a little bit more, and I was like, you know what, like I gave this game a lot. Like I worked real hard. I know that term gets thrown around a lot, but I know what I gave to the game, and I accomplished a lot of things as a player. Won a couple championships at Division I level, won some championships at the JUCO level, and I was happy with what I put in, and I was ready to move on. Right. So it was an easier decision for me as a player, and moving into the coaching role was, I would say, a fairly smooth transition for me because I was already kind of in a coaching role when I was at Campbell being hurt, just mentoring some younger guys and just kind of being in a leadership role there. It was a good transition for me, so I was really excited to get to work when the fall came around.
Yeah. Right. That's awesome. How's it been so far? Obviously, you've had some speed bumps with this whole COVID thing.
Yeah, it's absolutely the best decision I made in a long time. Yeah, I love being around the guys. Yeah. Just any time that you can give back to the game that gave you so much, just like you guys know, like that's the reason why you guys are doing this. Like you guys love being around in the environment, helping guys and seeing that light bulb click for them, just like it did for you.
It's super cool.
And it's not like we've been doing it for very long, but like we all experience like the ups and downs of being a player, and being able to relate that to our guys is something that I cherish and I really, really enjoy. So I'm really excited for the future for our program. So we'll see what happens next year.
I mean, being a head pitching coach at a top program in the nation, first job out of college, ain't so bad.
Yeah. No, it's been
especially somewhere that you were at as a player. I think that's I've always asked you or wondered about you. Was like you were just there 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. You get to go back.
Yeah. You know what? There is some, I guess you could say, some pressure that comes with it. Right. But working for a boss like Reed, he takes a lot of the pressure off, man. He just more or less like wants me to try to implement like what I believe in, and try to get our guys to be as prepared as possible for the game, and just being around a mentor like him on the game management aspect of things like helps the transition into that coaching on the coaching side a lot easier than for most guys. So I've been really lucky to be part of the program so far. So it's been good.
So you still get on the bump and face a hitter sometime?
No, man. No. Every once in a while I'll get into like a kick where I'll start throwing. And just like a week or two ago, I was throwing with one of my buddies in pro ball, and I was like, all right, I'm going to shuffle throw. Like, one, just let it eat. And came out 88, and I was like, dang, like, I still got it.
I could do that.
I was like, I still got it. And then the next day, I was like, oh, my God, my shoulder hurts. I've been throwing since then.
Yeah.
If you ever want to throw some live ABs, man, we got hitters here.
No
warm-ups allowed, though.
No.
I'm going to backtrack really quick because we got to talk about JUCO, CRC, Delta. Mm-hmm. We faced you guys.
Yep.
Game 3 of the series, I believe.
Yep.
We did face
starting
off.
Pitcher for Students River College was Steven Talbert.
Yeah,
we did.
Starting pitcher for Delta was Joey Skracic. Mm-hmm. These two fine gentlemen right here. And if I remember correctly, both of you guys threw really well.
Yeah, I think Steve outpitched me that day. I think so.
I think I got I got lucky. I think Mosley got tossed, so he blessed me.
Mosley was prone
I
to
think
to
Mosley
say
got
some things
booted,
that
so
weren't
it
very,
made my job a
He
little
was out-
easier.
He was out in right field, just
Yeah, he was out
throwing it back.
right. He was out in
Yeah,
right
God
field.
knows,
So
God knows what happens over
I
there.
got lucky. So he it was a good one though.
But that was, I think both of you guys went like 7 or 8 innings, right?
Yeah,
I think so.
I got
Was it a-
I got tagged around in the first. I think I gave a 5 spot in the first.
I think he
Yeah,
gave a
it
3
was-
spot.
it
That
was
was it.
freaking-
It was 1 home run.
it was-
I
It
gave
wasn't
a,
a 5.
I gave him a
Jerry.
3-run bomb
That's it.
to some 8-hole guy.
Dude, no, this
on
guy-
like an 0-2.
Jerry Alameda, he's married now, man.
On an 0-2 heat. I remember the pitch. Like it was an 0-2 heater in, and I beat him in. And your guys' yard is a freaking
It's a freaking
airport.
launching
And like the ball just goes there.
Dude, I want you to know, I don't know if we've told you this, but I think that was his first start.
That was his first.
So
I think.
this kid was a
That
freshman.
makes me feel better. Thanks.
Yeah.
No, here's the thing. Like, our outfielders were just kind of inconsistent that year, and I think they kind of had some bad games. And
You know,
I
Coach
think-
Bloomfield.
I'm not sure. Did Peyton play that game, Peyton Wheatley? I think
He did.
I don't even
He
remember
did?
that.
Yeah, he played that game.
So he was like our center fielder, but then like kind of left field and right field was kind of up for grabs. Like, one day
Right.
be Estes, and then, just
Morley or whatever.
Morley if
We
he's
had
not playing
random
first.
dudes, you know?
So Alameda had been hitting great in BP for a couple weeks. I think Brett was like, "Dad, you should play him." And when he put him in there, and I remember first thing, I was like, "Oh man, we'll see how this goes." Like, we got
I thought you
D1
were.
on.
I mean, I was like, you're not gonna. I was like, no
He's not gonna
offense,
touch the
Jerry,
ball.
you're gonna be screwed because I knew Joey already. I was
And
training
then
with this guy,
hit that ball. And we're like, "What?"
and
Yeah.
I always made fun of him after that.
got me
Because I was
good.
like, your eyes were closed and you just prayed.
Hey,
Yeah.
line
I
squirrel,
couldn't believe
baby.
it. I
Yeah.
thanked him. And I was like, hey, you got me a win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, because I knew I no offense to my CRC teammates out there, but I was like, we're overmatched. This is Delta team.
Yeah.
I mean, look at this
Well,
line.
this is-
I remember on our number 1 Patterson. That dude was nails all year long. I mean,
guys
he
had a
state-
great
He
team
won
again.
state pitcher of the year.
Every year.
And then Frank, he's with the Angels now. Like he was a stud number 2 guy.
You guys had Bo Phillip.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
guys
we
had- that's the
Bo,
thing,
We had a
Bo.
lot. We had a deep team that year.
That was gonna be. I knew going that just because I knew you were pitching.
Yeah.
I was like, that's gonna be a fun game.
Yeah,
Because we had been training, for so long. And we
it
finally
was
got to go
fun.
out there and
Yeah.
dish it a little bit.
Well, I remember so when we went to CRC, we kind of started throwing the plow balls and stuff in the fall, and it was kind of like we had to go out there and do it on our own, and we were like,
Our
going
velos
off the
had just
field.
increased.
Yeah, we just been back
Both
to
high
Driveline,
80s.
and like I just hit 88 for the first time, and like in the fall, even at the end of the fall, Bloomy was like, "Yeah, you're like an 86 guy, sometimes harder." And the year before that, I was like 82, so I was like, "All right, like it's holding." So we would have to go there like 30 minutes early, throw against like the bathroom wall, behind
It
the
was
field.
an
all
absolute
this stuff.
nightmare.
Yeah.
And then they at the beginning of the season basically said, "Hey, no more Driveline," because I think we walked a couple guys.
That's
in, like, one
potentially
inch
my
squad.
fault. That's potentially my fault.
And I'm pretty sure he sat Steven down and was like, "If you want to pitch on my team, you're going to be an 81 guy and hit spots. You're not going to throw hard."
That was the essence of the conversation. After I was high 8s in the fall.
Yeah, and so because he walked a guy in an inter squad.
Two
But
guys.
anyways,
It was two guys.
he would be all this thing about how velo was important, and then I'm not sure if it was that game, but we lost to you guys, maybe the first game of the series or something, and he like railed us, and he was like, "You know the difference is they're bringing freshmen out of the bullpen 88 to 90. We're bringing freshmen to the bullpen 78 to 80."
Yeah.
And Steve and I were like, "Well, they do the thing that we try to do, and then you told us not to do."
Yeah.
That's what he asked. He asked why do they have guys doing this? I told you why.
Driveline.
I know what they're
Yeah.
doing over there. I know what they're doing.
You know what? Remember how Steven was like 87 in his first start, and now he's throwing 78 because he took that away
I
from him?
couldn't. I last start. I think I hit 80 once against a good team. I was struggling. My elbow was blowing up, man. It was tough, but that was what we had to deal with at first.
Hey,
That
you
was
gotta-
the part.
you gotta love
All
it.
of us did.
Yeah.
There was every Driveline guy across the country had to go back and try to tell these coaches that, hey, I got something that works.
Yeah.
And it was so hard.
Yeah.
You didn't want to sound like you knew it all, but
Yeah.
we all wanted the best for ourselves.
That was one thing with Cap, man. Like our pitching coach, like he was just like, whatever you did that made you better, like more power to you, man. Like,
That's so fortunate.
Just run with it. And
Yeah.
obviously, if the routine became overboard, then he would step in and kind of be like, "Hey, man, like we got to cut it down" or
Yeah.
something like that. But
Right.
9 out of 10 times, it was, "Hey, man, like go ahead, go after
Well,
it."
that's the milligram that some of us, like even some of our athletes here are kind of facing, because they'll almost milk it the other way, where, hey man, they'll give them, like the coach will give them an hour to warm up, and then they'll check back in and they'll be on bands. And it's like you can get all this stuff done in an hour.
Absolutely.
As you were saying, like 45. If you get 45 minutes, you're chilling.
You're using it.
So it's almost like the pendulum swing. Like we've seen cases where Driveline guys have been, gone to teams and they get cut or whatever because they kind of Driveline has created a sense of like, hey, you got to fight for yourself, right? But then people kind of will stop listening to their coaches and be like, no, I know the way. So you got to be able to like kind of find the middle ground. Like, hey, this is what I want to do. Can we talk about it? Have an open conversation.
It really works
Be
for me. Here's the
respectful.
data. Like, you
Yeah.
got to be respectful about it.
You can't just
Exactly.
like if you're a pitching coach and you went to your player like, hey, I don't want you to do this. If they were like, no, I'm gonna do it. Like that's automatically you're gonna have button heads.
There's a little
Yeah.
tension there, right?
You got to be able to talk in a playful way, have an open conversation. Like, hey, here's why I want to do this. You know, it works for me. This is what I see. What do you think? And have that open dialogue. Do you have guys at Delta that don't want to do any of the plyo balls, or is everyone kind of bought in?
No, man. So I'm a firm believer in, like, you're going to create a set of tools for these guys to be able to use. And if it's throwing the plyo balls, it's throwing the plyo balls. If it's going in and doing J-bands and playing catch with a football or softball and going and play catch, like, that's fine with me too, but it needs to be a routine. Like, it has to be deliberate in what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish, and there has to be a plan behind it. So I would say that there's about 3/4 of our guys are probably doing a plyo routine, and then some guys that don't. Like, some guys, if you're mentally not bought into what the plyo balls are trying to do for you, I really don't think that there is a purpose behind it. And I think a lot of guys will push blame on doing that routine, or they say, hey, I'm getting tired, or my elbow hurts, or my shoulder hurts. But a lot of it just has to do with them probably not being bought into what they're trying to do. Even as much as we can show success stories, they've heard horror stories from different guys. And
there's always the other side.
We had a left-hander come in this year, and I remember the first couple of weeks, like, going up to him, like, he would be doing the plyo balls, and he'd be like, Skracic, like, this, like, I hate this. I'm like, well, why do you hate it? Well, my buddy got hurt doing it. And I was like, all right, well, I was like, let's sit down one day, like, when you're about to go do plyo balls, and I'll show you why we do them and what they promote. And he was like, okay. And then from that on, like, all of a sudden, like, now, like, we're during COVID, like, this dude's got, he buys his own plyo balls. Like, he's sending, he's making up his own drills.
He loves it.
What do you think about this? And I'm like, it's awesome, man.
Just
like,
change the frame of mind a little bit.
Yeah, just create a belief system. And he went from, like, 84 to 85 to 87 to 89. Like, he's going to be a dude next year, like, hopefully, if he stays healthy. And
if we ever play.
Yeah, if our state ever opens up again. But we'll see what happens from there.
Yeah, man, that's sweet.
Yeah, we had I remember my last year at Westmont, there was a freshman that he goes, hey, man, have you seen this before? Like, I'm kind of worried with the plyo balls. And it was a Top Velocity ad. The science is out. Weighted balls cause injury. And I'm like, dude, this is that one.
It's all about how you implement it. All about how you implement it.
Yeah. So, yeah, man. I mean, we could take a break and come back. Or, I mean, that's kind of, you have anything else you guys want to talk about? Or is that kind of wrapping up for you guys?
Dude, that was a pretty condensed version of your story. Right?
That was pretty good. Touched everything.
Yeah, whatever you guys want to talk about, I'm in on talking about.
Is there anything you guys want to take a break and then come back, or do
we can take a break if we think of something real quick. Yes.
All right. What was it that you wanted to ask him about, Steve? Just kind of coaching and
we can get into whatever. Are we? Is it rolling?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was gonna ask you, going from a player, a D1 player, you know, and guy I trained with, all the stuff we did and learned, like, going into coaching, what are some things that, do you feel like your players teach you some things, or, like, biggest things you've learned on how to make your guys better, or, like, how they go about their business? Like, what have you learned the most being a coach? Like,
man, you hit it on the nail on the head right there. You just said, like, do you learn from your players? That's all you do as a coach.
Right.
Like, that's literally everything. Like, you learn from trial and error. Like, that's, in my opinion, like, the most important thing. Like, I like to experiment a lot of stuff on myself before I end up giving to my guys.
Right.
But like you said, like, learning from your guys, like, just watching them and communicating with them is, like, huge. Just sometimes it takes longer with certain guys to open up, but then with a lot of other guys, you can get to them pretty quick.
Right.
But in terms of that, like, just being able to, like, break down the barriers with them and, like, learning from them on how they learn.
It's a tough job with 20-something guys.
Yeah, it is.
Pitching staff.
And you know what? It's really difficult for a guy like me. Personally, like, I struggle with the idea of, like, hey, man, like, I'm going to work with my top 10 guys. Like, and those are only 10 dudes I'm going to work with, because those are the dudes that are going to impact us on the mound. But in the reality, things, like, I can't do that as a personal, like, like, for me personally, I really struggle with that, because number 23 is as important to me as number 1. And I know that sounds kind of cliche, and a lot of people are like, oh, that's probably not true. In terms of value for my team, number 1's going to bring more value to my team. He's gonna impact us on the mound a lot. But number 23, like, that relationship with him is just as important in the long run. And as a player, like, all I craved, and I don't know about you guys, but, like, I just wanted someone to care. Like, I just wanted someone that cared for me and, like, wanted to create a relationship with me in terms of,
you
like,
could tell they cared, right? Yeah,
exactly, and you can tell between, like, the fake love and the real love between guys. And And to me, that as a coach, like going into things like that was one of my biggest priorities. Is like making sure that those guys understood, like, I care about them, and I wanted them to see that, like, we're gonna do whatever it takes to help you get to where you want to be.
So I don't regret going to Willamette because I met, as you said, some people I still talk to this day and like had a great time there and whatnot. But the head coach, I mean, we actually had some assistant coaches I really liked, and one of the assistant coaches, now the head coach at Lewis and Clark, and I started to go to him with all my questions just because, like, the head coach, he wasn't like distant, but he just, as you said, like, you could tell he didn't care about you as a person as much as like he probably should. And then my experience at Westmont was so polar opposite of that. Like, just a quick example, we had one player who his father was in the hospital, and he's from like Texas, and obviously Westmont's down in Santa Barbara, and he went into the coach's office to tell him, because he was like, I might have to go home for a couple of days, like this and that, and like right then, like, Coach Reed hopped on the phone and was like ordering him a flight home, like he was gonna pay for it himself. Like, that's just one example, obviously, awesome. But that's just like Ruiz had that and has that, continues to have that, like that willingness to care, that investment in his players and those relationships. Like I'll still text Coach Rees here and there, or call him on, Father's Day, shit like that. But like, I probably won't talk to the head coach at Willamette ever again. So those are relationships as a coach and as a player that you're going to build that could last a lifetime. That could have effect as, on that 23rd pitcher that you have, you might impact the way that he's a father. The relationship he has with his wife down the road, the relationship he has with his kids, based on just what you do on a JUCO level.
And you know what? Like I touched on earlier, I have a mentor in Bakersfield that to this day, like, we talk once or twice a week, and we have very opposite views on like how we look at the game now, and but in terms of like how like you create relationships with your players, like that's where I learned everything was from him. And like I remember something that sticks to me to this day is like he talks about. It's like, I'm 52 years old and my best friends were 16. Because like how invested he was in us and like how much he cared about us. Like he knew more about our personal life than a lot of people did, and we could trust him. And to me, like, that was really important. I was lucky to play for some guys that were very similar like that. I have a really good relationship with Reed when I was playing for him, and obviously now I'm staff with him. We still have a great relationship. And then Hare over at Campbell, same kind of dude, man. He provides just a ton of care for his players, and holds himself at the same accountability level as he does from his players. And I think that plays a huge role into creating that relationship, just being able to hold yourself as accountable as you say to have your players be. So I think that plays a huge role in developing relationships with your guys. And
you hear it all the time now. So the mantra's like, everybody's like, oh, I gotta care for my guys, I gotta care for my guys, I gotta care for my guys. So there's gonna be guys that are gonna fake it till they make it. But then I was lucky to play for Jake McKinley, who, I mean, it was unbelievable. He got all these guys wanting to go to a small school in Northern California. I mean, no offense to Jessup, but it's nowhere you want to be. Nowhere you want to go play. I mean, it's nowhere, not school you go jump up and down. So the thing about McKinley was, though, it was relationship first, and that's what created the buy-in. Every dude wanted to go play for him. You wanted to go out there and win, and I think that's a big piece that people talk about. But
you want to be McDonald's or Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, so you talk about things like that, and who do you want to be as a player, and
you want to expand on that at all, or?
Well, yeah. So he would give us a talk about, he'd bring us all up, and we might be doing something sloppy, and he's not the type of guy who's going to roast you, but he would talk about, customers going in one day to, they go to McDonald's and you have a choice to go to Chick-fil-A, like, where are you going to go? Probably.
Yeah.
You're probably going to go to Chick-fil-A because you show up, it's clean, you leave, they say, my pleasure. They do all these things right. McDonald's might mess up your order. They might tell you the ice machine's broken. They might tell you all these things. They're lying. But, they're about speed, get it out.
They're not the nicest.
Not the nicest, get out. But Chick-fil-A, they want you there. They want you to have an experience. And on Jake's field, you're damn right you were going to have an experience. I couldn't believe it. Yeah. But he got the buy-in. And I think that's the biggest part for any program is if you can get, these 40 guys to buy in, you got something special,
For sure, man. I think that buy-in word gets used a lot, and I'm lucky to be in this little round table that I do every Thursday with like 14 other D1 pitching coaches, and got introduced through my old pitching guy at Campbell. And one of the topics that we talked about earlier this week was like, what are your philosophies? And obviously, as a first-year pitching coach, like you don't really have a philosophy. Like, hey, man,
you're building.
I'm building. Like I don't really have a true
finish a season.
Yeah, exactly. True defined philosophy. And a lot of guys were talking about it, and one of the guys that's in the chat, I think it's his almost 25th year as a Division I pitching coach, been around the game for a long time, really well respected on the East Coast. And the biggest thing that like we came to, like after he was done talking, I was like, wow, I was like, Jerry, like to me, like what that says to me is like you just care.
Right.
Like that's your philosophy, like caring. Like, and I know that it gets thrown around a lot, like create a relationship with your players, like blah blah blah, like this and that. But like there's not too many guys that really do that.
It really is.
And like people don't understand like
yeah.
just what you do on the field, like, hey man, like I'm giving them this and that and that, like they should know I care. Like, well, that's not what some
or
guys
they should
need.
like me, or they should be happy, or they should.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's not what a lot of guys need. Like some dudes just
Yeah.
want to like, hey man, like how's your girlfriend doing, or like how's your mom doing, like
Yeah,
like,
what's going on in life? Classes.
How's that doing, and
some guys need that. I mean, it's just you got to know.
absolutely.
You know? Yeah.
And a lot of guys, like when people struggle, they'll refer back to like, oh man, what's he doing on the field? Like when in reality, like maybe his mom and dad are getting divorced, like maybe his grandma's dying, like something like that could literally put you in a rut.
Oh, easily.
And I
And
talked with one of my friends the other day, and that was like his first year of junior college. He was like, yeah, I was going through stuff at home. My parents were getting divorced, and like he ended up being a D1 player later, but he was just like, yeah, I wasn't myself my junior year or my first year at junior college, and like ended up leaving the school because he's like, I probably would have flourished if like I was in the right state of mind, but I wasn't.
yeah, and I think that's huge. Your mindset, just in regular life, like as an athlete, I think we definitely don't appreciate that as much as we do. And like mental health gets thrown around a lot, but I think it plays a huge role in terms of like a player's development. If he's coming in with the right state of mind, like that's half the battle for that guy.
We all know
I
baseball's
absolutely,
so mental.
I agree with that
Exactly.
100%. It's half the battle, just getting them right upstairs, you know.
Exactly.
That, like when you're on the field, are you thinking about things off the field? You have confidence.
Yeah.
But kind of going off that, we had again at Westmont, one of our assistant coaches, Coach Venzer, did one meal each semester where he'd get like half the team over, like a quarter of the team, and he had like 4 nights, and you'd come over to his house with like 80 of your teammates, and his wife, Mrs. Venzer, would cook this awesome tri-tip dinner, lasagna, like garlic cheesy bread and stuff, and you'd sit there, and you'd have like an hour dinner with them, and then they'd just talk, like because at Westmont we had 45, 50 guys. So you don't get to know all the freshmen as coaches right away, but he would have everyone over, ask them questions, how's it going, like this, and actually get to know each player, which was pretty cool. Like, that definitely wasn't something that we did at Willamette, but that was awesome that he would do that and take the time out of his day to do that.
Yeah.
A lot of the things too you remember as a player, for me, is like, of course, I remember baseball stuff, but at practice, what coaches did, like how they made you feel, I remember the most.
Yeah.
Like, if you ask me about CRC, I think of Tony Bloomfield. I'm sorry, I have a different feeling. I think of Jake McKinley, it's completely different. I think of Trevor Payne, it's completely different. It's not nowhere near Bloomfield, or like City even, completely different.
And it's also like,
It's the feeling you get. It's cool.
No one's implying this, but we're not saying like don't get your work and don't do like the baseball stuff. Obviously, like that stuff's important.
Right.
But again, I keep going back to Westmont, but we would do music drill on Friday. So like you would put all the stuff that people say are boring in practice, right? Your bunties, your PFPs, all that stuff. You did each drill for pickoffs. You did each drill for one song. It was tempo. It was fun. It was like go. Like you were encouraged to make that like sports center play, right? Make the play, throw off your back foot, and we had a timer on it. So you had the infielders had 4.2 seconds to get the ball to first base.
Yeah.
And we have music going. We're laughing. We're getting our work in. But there was just a much different vibe there than there was behind the 2-hour CRC bunties, where when you made an error, you had to run and touch the wall and come back.
Yeah.
Like this is like, hey, you made an error, get back up there, do another one.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Yeah,
get back in line. We're just gonna keep it going. And
Yeah.
you know what, you messed up, it's okay. We'll get it next week. On to the next drill, the next song.
I always thought it was so
Yeah.
funny about bunty practice. Like in bunty practice, I feel like it's harder to feel the bunt. In a game, I'm just like, I pick the thing up and we go to first base.
Yeah.
But in bunties, I was like, why am I thinking so much about this? You know?
Because you're afraid. I mean, ultimately, like you're worried about like, hey,
I'm
how's
like,
the
dude.
reaction gonna be?
Well,
And
that's,
I could do it in a game, eyes closed behind my back.
So I think it's Brewster, right? That talks about like
Yeah, I think he goes
rewarding
into
like
that.
positive things versus like punishing the negative. You
Right.
follow Brewster, True
Yeah.
Athletics?
Of course, yeah.
He was talking about like
He does a good
creating that
job.
culture of like, hey, we're encouraging guys to like be athletic, be themselves, make the play in like a relaxed environment versus like, oh, be tense because like if I mess up, I'm gonna get yelled at, or if I throw a ball to backstop, I might be out the game just like that. Like,
Baseball's hard enough, man.
yeah, being able to like allow your players to take that deep breath, relax, get into a better mindset of like, hey, I'm okay. I'm not in any danger here of getting, my ass chewed out if I throw a ball
Right.
or throw too hard.
I got you. Sorry, man. I PR'd for the first time in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I love all those things you talked about. Like, it's funny. Like you try to implement stuff like that, like as a coach, but obviously there's a lot of things that like when you get into a program like for us, like there's a lot of things like I don't touch like at Delta. Like there's a reason why we've had the success that we've had, and a lot of it has to be attributed to like what Coach Peters has done and the things that he instills in our guys. And as much as like we want to do things like that music drill, in reality, like sometimes like we do need to do like those drills that nobody wants to do. Like I don't as a pitching coach, like I don't want to sit there and do an hour of bundies, but like sometimes like we need it because not only does it challenge like us as players, but I mean as coaches, like to try to get our guys better, but it challenges the players. Like sometimes like you need to be able to get a rise out of your guys in terms of like who's going to step up and make a change amongst this club and lead our guys to like where they need to be in terms of a mindset. Because as much as we want to do as coaches to instill our mindset, like what we feel is necessary to our guys, like in reality, it's the players that make the clubhouse. It's the players that make the team. They determine
what's going to happen. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. So the players determine the mindset of the club, and as much as we want to push our ideas, like they're going to reject it if they don't believe in it, and if it's not something that's actually like for the guys that look up to other guys on the team, if those dudes don't believe it, like
I think
it's
that's
not
a huge point. Like
accepted.
somebody out there will write that down or something. They'll love it because you're right. Like if they don't have it, there's pushback there. The clubhouse is all messed up.
Exactly.
It's just how it is, and I think as a player that was hard to realize. I mean, I was like, why are we doing this? This doesn't make sense. But then as I got outside of it, I'm like, this needs to mold. It has to. To make sense.
And I'll tell you what, man. Like it was something that at Delta, like that kind of got brought out. Like you learn as a redshirt freshman, like you learn from guys like Thoreau. Like a lot of guys. I mean, he's pretty popular in social media stuff. But the dude was a phenomenal leader. Like he led by example in a lot of things he did. He was very vocal, charismatic in the way he went about his business, and you were attracted to that as a player. Right. So like you take little bits and pieces of the guys that you've been around. You're like, hey man, I got to be a little bit of Colin. I got to be a little bit of Rick Delgado. Like Rick Delgado is probably like the toughest son of a gun like I've ever been around on a baseball field in my life. Like that dude would like kill babies if he had to, like, to get guys out. Like that dude was a psycho. And Rick helped me out this past year in the fall, and it was awesome because like a lot of my like leadership skills like and things that I believe in as a whole like comes from like a little bit of Rick Delgado, but it comes from a little bit of Colin Thoreau. But like you learn that as a player, like there's little bits and pieces that you take from these guys that you feel like, hey man, like that dude is like he's got an idea of like what we need to do to be successful. And it was the same thing at Campbell. Like Christian Jones, like he's one of my best friends, but like he wasn't like super vocal, but like he led by example. Like he was that guy that we wanted to be around. And then you just take little bits and pieces of that as you go on. And I think that if you can show like that path to your players, like, hey man, like it needs to be you, like say something here, like just try to create that own leader and like show him like what you need, like that little push, exactly. But like don't force yourself onto them. I think that
in the right direction.
that kind of helps your guys get to where they need to be.
Absolutely.
That's
awesome.
like,
I love that.
Like I love that philosophy and applying that to training too. Of like, hey, no one has all the answers. Like everyone's human. No one's perfect.
That's the thing,
Like literally listen to what everyone has to say. Try out different things. See what works for you. Take a piece from this guy. Take a piece from this.
100%.
I think Brewster talks about that on Twitter too. But just like, you know,
creating
some
your puzzle,
people will hate like the core velocity ball. Other people will hate plyo balls. Like, okay, it works for me, so I'm gonna use that and this. But maybe this guy doesn't. Whatever it may be.
Yeah.
It's like you do practice.
Yeah, and then like you just said, taking that for like people that you meet and be like, okay, I'm gonna take the good part of this guy, the good part of this guy, and this good part of this guy. That are three different things. Leave the negatives, and I'm gonna try to implement those in my life and replicate them as a person I want to be. Yeah,
something I talk to our guys about is like I like to look at different sports to find success, like what makes them successful.
Love that.
And some of the things that I try to look at, like bodybuilders and billionaires. Like there's a reason why like in my opinion, bodybuilders are the most probably dedicated athletes on the world. Like it goes down to the fine tee of like, all right, if I drink 10 more ounces of water than I'm supposed to, like I'm not going to show the way I should. And by the way, I was working for that show for like 6 months.
Yeah.
Or a whole
a
guy that prepares for one Olympia
like
a year.
No days off.
Like if he drinks too much Gatorade before the show, like his muscles aren't going to show. I don't know the technical definitions, but like, could you imagine like going like going through something like that, like and then you look at like billionaires that assume so much risk. Like as a baseball player, you have to be able to assume risk in terms of like giving up you have to sacrifice things.
Oh, you have to.
That's
You want to be
in
good
order to be successful.
Like UFC in that sense, because we always talk about baseball's a mental game. Because in basketball, if you miss a shot, like you're already on defense. You can get a steal, get the ball back 30 seconds later. So you can forget about it. But in baseball, it's so mental because like if you strike out, you might not get another bat for an hour.
Right.
UFC, if you get knocked out, you might not fight again for 6 months, a year maybe.
Yeah.
And you're thinking about it the whole time. And like you said, you got to be able to cut weight to get to that weight class. What you eat, what you're like, same sort of thing about putting that preparation about almost every aspect of your life.
Habitual at that point.
Yeah.
That's what Ryan talks about.
Yeah.
Because people, a little tangent, but people come in here and they're like, oh, you're not a pitching coach, you don't sit with my kid. They'll say this, like, right, that you don't sit right with my kid in his pocket. But Ryan's argument is, well, why are big leaguers so good? He was a big leaguer. He's like, we're not trying to tell the kid every throw he's doing something good or bad. I'm trying to give him the habits he needs to get to where, for example, he was. Like, Ryan's like, it's all habitual. Like, why are billionaires so good? They have habits. They have good habits.
Greatness is boring, man.
Yeah, it's boring. Casey Weathers'
Greatness
video.
is mundane.
Casey's video, like it sounds so cliche.
Good
now.
enough is a disease.
It's true. Like everybody talks about the same thing. Jordan, look at what's his name, McGregor. They all talk about the same shit. They just did it.
You know what's funny? Like I Zoom calls with our guys. Like one of the things that we talk about is like, did you guys recognize like Michael Jordan, the greatest, arguably one of the greatest basketball players to ever live.
Of course.
And like you see a video of him like going up and just shooting the ball from right next to the rim. Like does he over and over again? Like, does he really need to do that? Like probably not. But like he knows like this is what is going to make him. This is what's making him the greatest player of all time. So like that's and a lot of guys want to skip steps or they want to know like, hey, like what's the mechanical change? Like hey, like what's one thing I can do? Like if there's not one thing, dude. It's mastering like what you're trying to accomplish.
And that's also I think as we talk about what's so rewarding about this when you can kind of either shape kids' minds or kind of mold them in the right direction. Like we had a couple of guys come in here after they saw like TJ's success go from 86, 87 to 96.
Okay.
And they came in and they were like, hey, last year I was throwing 90 and TJ was throwing 86, and now he's throwing 96 and I'm only throwing 92. If I do this for a week, like I'll throw 90, 98, right?
Sure.
They legit might come in here for 3 days. Yeah.
But there's literally, we had one guy in specific that came in here, and the first week he was kind of like that, like, oh, TJ did that, I can do it. Like had that sort of like high horse, and we've kind of shown him over and over again, like, hey, TJ was in here for a year.
Don't forget.
Lifting 4 to 5 times a week. Like, he put on, like, 10 to 15 pounds. All his lifts went up. Some of it was luck. Obviously, it's not going to happen for everyone. He hit puberty a little bit, and the kid picked up plyo balls for the first time. Like,
just trained. I mean,
and he's a freak athlete. He's got amazing rotational speed.
Every day,
So that one kid that originally was like that, he's now kind of buying into like, okay, if I put in the work, it's going to take some time. But
he's like head down, comes in, finally like shuts up.
But it's cool to kind of see that transition from like, hey, there is no magic bullet, and like unless I inject a needle in my ass, take steroids, like I can't just like do this overnight.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted. My thing with the young guys is like, you guys are forgetting. Cause I'll watch guys walk in. No offense to our athletes, but I'll watch guys walk in. They go straight to the bands. I won't say anything for a week. And I'll be like, and I'll wait for them to say something like, God, this doesn't work. And I'll be like, I watched you skip every mobility thing we wrote for you the last 2 months.
Well,
or a week.
A lot of guys are asking for like individualized mobility programs, which is like, obviously, it can help.
Of course.
But like Ryan's had some conversations with Evan over at Kime, and he's like, hey, if they did our dynamic warm-up to a T perfectly every single time they came in here, they probably wouldn't need a mobility routine because a lot of
it's instilled in there.
100%.
We put it in there. Like
they're gonna
they don't realize they don't do it. A lot of them. And that's the hard part.
It's the boring stuff. It's the being
habits.
able to do, world's greatest all the way down, all the way back.
You got to roll out for, 10 seconds of body part. And every guy's like, oh, fuck, I don't want to do that today. You skip one day. It's like, it matters, though. And it's hard to get them to understand. But it might take something else that happens, on the field to make them realize.
Like, I mean, obviously we could. I mean, you can always do more, right? But I feel like we worked pretty hard when we were at Driveline, and I remember being there 3 to 4 hours a day, even when we weren't lifting, because like we're putting in that time at the beginning, go through our full throwing routine, looking at video, whatever it is, go through the full recovery
even
stuff.
At home in the park,
I mean, have some conversations with some people just about like you can pick up things just from talking from other guys that obviously are going towards the same goal and our pitchers and our different, like Sam picked up a slider just from talking to Kevin, like a different drill, whatever it might be. Like we've had different FaceTime calls, and like the aggressively drunk thing stuck with me for a while. Like I always like that mentality of being able to actually stay loose on the mound, because I'd always get so like, oh, I gotta be, this gap here and this gap here, and all that stuff kind of got in my head.
None of that works.
That's that's the one you don't want to do.
Yeah. The moment I think that getting to the point where like you become so deliberate in your work that like when you get to the mound, everything just becomes an action. It just goes. And like going back to what you said, like I think that like you talking about like guys wanting to take shortcuts, and the biggest thing like I could say to like a young kid like wanting to train, it's like these hours that you put in. This is probably me stealing a quote from somebody, but like the hours that you train, like you don't train to become great. Like I mean, you don't train because like you want a result in what you're trying to do. Like you just train to do the right things all the time because it's the right thing to do. And actually, same for I learned that from my dad more than anything. My dad's an immigrant from Croatia and came over, and like he never once told me that like to work hard. Like he never told me, not once told me to like become a great baseball player, do this, want to become a professional athlete. He just told me to work hard because that's what you're supposed to do. Like, and he showed me from like there's a reason why he got up at 6 a.m. and go to work every single day, never complained about it, never came home and took it out on his family. Like it's just because it was the right thing for him to do, because he knew he had to provide for our family. And I think that's the same thing that you can instill in a player is like, hey man, like you're gonna come in, you're gonna put in the work, and don't expect like all of a sudden like, all right, I'm gonna put in 2 hours of T work today, and I'm gonna gain like 3 miles an hour of exit velocity. Like that's not what we're gonna do it. Just know that, hey man, like I'm doing it because this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is what athletes do. Like we spend the extra 20 minutes on the foam roller, we spend the extra 10 minutes doing the mobility. We take the extra 5 minutes on our roll-ins or whatever it is that day to just make sure that we're that much more deliberate in how we're going to attack the day. And I think a lot of guys can learn from that and be able to understand like it's a long road to success, but success isn't defined by results. Success is defined by how you do it.
It's the journey, baby.
It's the compound effect.
Exactly.
It's just what they did every day,
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
The compound effect's huge. I like that.
Yeah, that's my favorite book probably. That's a good one.
Yeah, I think that might be how we're riding out on this.
Yeah.
You guys got anything else?
That was nails for me. That was awesome,
Joey,
man.
appreciate you coming on.
You the man.
Thanks, dog.
Delta's lucky. They're in good hands.
Right.
It's gonna be fun.
Driving in the ground.
Yeah, right.